We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 60. Krishna teases Rukmini. Nice chapter, funny chapter. Chapter 60, texts 1 and 2. Text 1. Shri Badarayani Uvacha Karhichit Sukham Asinam Svatal Pastham Jagat Gurum Patim Prayacharad Bhaishmi Vyajanina Sakhi Janai. Translation and purport by the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Shri Badarayani said, Shri Badarayani is who? Shri Badarayani is Vyasadeva, the author of the Vedas. Shri Badarayani said, once in the company of her maidservants, Queen Rukmini was personally serving her husband, the spiritual master of the universe, by fanning him as he relaxed on her bed. This is one of those pastimes that you don't want to try at home. Don't try that at home. Okay. Report. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Venetia's favorite saint, poetically notes that in this chapter, Rukmini Devi is like fragrant camphor crushed on the grinding stone of Lord Krishna's speech. In other words, the lovely, chaste qualities of Rukmini will become manifest as a result of Lord Krishna's apparently insensitive words, just as camphor's fragrance becomes manifest when granules of camphor are crushed by a grinding stone. The Acharya, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, further points out that Rukmini is personally serving the Lord because he is Jagat Guru, the spiritual master of the universe, and Patim, her husband. Text 2. The unborn personality of Godhead, the supreme controller, who creates, maintains, and then devours this universe, simply as his play, took birth among the Yadus to preserve his own laws. Purport. As stated in the 6th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam 6.3.19, Dharmam tu Sakshad Bhagavat Pratinam. Religion is the law established by God. The word setu means a boundary or limit, as in the case of a dike. Earth is raised up on both sides of a river or canal so that the water will not deviate from its proper path. Similarly, God establishes laws so that people who follow them can peacefully progress along the path back home, back to Godhead. These laws, which are meant to guide human behavior, are thus called setu, boundary or limit. A further note on the word setu. Earth that is raised up to separate agricultural fields or to form a causeway or bridge is also called setu. Thus, in the ninth canto of the Bhagavatam, the Bhagavatam uses the word setu to indicate the bridge Lord Ramachandra built to Sri Lanka. Since the laws of God act as a bridge to take us from material life to liberated spiritual life, this additional sense of the word setu certainly enriches its use here. So this is our setu. This is the bridge that Srila Prabhupada built to help us get out of the material world and enter the realm of devotional service, the realm of bhakti, the realm of bhakti yoga. We're connecting with Krishna. Whereas Martine fusion, fusion. Our fusion is that we enter the stream of bhakti and engage in devotional service, thus revealing our true dormant nature as a servant of the servant of the servant, million times removed, servant of Krishna. So before we begin, we'd like to seek your blessings so that we can speak in line with Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, and so we can speak in a pleasing manner, so we can say something uplifting for the benefit of everyone, myself included, my true self included. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pistai Putale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshadarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Jnana-timirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master is opening my eyes with a torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him again and again and again. Hare Krishna. So we are reciting prayers, we are discussing Srimad Bhagavatam together, we chant bhajans, we dance, we feast, we engage in service. We're not doing anything other than Lord Chaitanya did. Lord Chaitanya was singing bhajans and we're singing bhajans. It's all available to us. That transcendental ecstasy that Lord Chaitanya is available to us through those books and through the practices that Srila Prabhupada introduced and invited us to become part of. So we're very fortunate. And this secret is kind of an open secret. It's available freely. We just have to take to it. We just have to commit ourselves to it and be serious. Serious means every day. Serious doesn't mean grumpy. It means we stick to our commitments, to our vows. There's accountability there. And devotional service is joyfully performed, as it says in the Shastra. So we can be serious and joyful at the same time. There's no contradiction here. So, and I was thinking that I am speaking to you today, but we don't know, as devotees, we don't know who is going to be speaking to us when we need it. Who will be chanting Hare Krishna when we are on our deathbed? For some reason, I always think of Bhima Prabhu. I want him to sing on my deathbed. So yeah, I may be speaking to you today, but it's a many-way street. It's not just two. It's a many-way street. I'm sure that when I need it, Krishna will bless me with the association of the devotees, especially at the time where we are going through some difficulty. Krishna always backs us up when we need it. So I'm speaking to you today, but I understand that you will be speaking to me, and you are speaking to me every day, at all times, basically, not just at the time of death. At all times, devotees are speaking to us if we are sincere and surrender to the process that Srila Prabhupada gave us. We also wanted to honor His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj. He departed from this earthly realm earlier today. Gopal Krishna Maharaj was a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. He joined in 1970, in 1960. He joined early when there weren't much devotees around. He joined in Montreal, Canada. And he had a lot of personal association with Srila Prabhupada, and he received some valuable instructions from Srila Prabhupada as to the management, as to book distribution and other things that Maharaj shared with us throughout his life, throughout his service in this movement. Gopal Krishna Maharaj was the first sannyasi that I personally saw live in this movement. I remember I was in the back of the temple room. The temple room was packed, very crowded, and I was told that I was going to see a Swami for the first time. I had heard of Swamis before. I had been coming to the temple on Sundays here and there for a few weeks, and Maharaj was visiting, and I remember I was told he's coming, a holy man is coming, you'll see. And then I saw the danda, a big stick, and I saw this person. He was effulgent. He looked like Prabhupada, exactly like Prabhupada. And I thought that he was that since he was a big leader of the society, he would stop to wave at the crowd. You know how famous people greet the crowd, but he didn't do that. He proceeded straight to the altar and he fell flat on the ground and offered his obeisances to the deities. And I saw the feet of Maharaj. He was wearing thick orange socks. It also stuck out to me, that detail. He was nothing like I was expecting. And he looked like Prabhupada. He was effulgent. Maharaj inspired us a lot on our journey in bhakti. So we'd like to express our profound gratitude to Maharaj for all the service he's done and doing through his disciples, through his writings, classes. Maharaj came to the Soviet Union in the 70s to participate in the book fair in Moscow and Leningrad. He brought Srila Prabhupada's books there, and he got a certificate from the Soviet government that that was acknowledging that Srila Prabhupada's books were bringing world peace. And he brought the certificate back to Prabhupada, who was in India at that time. And Prabhupada was showing that certificate to all the visitors who would come to visit him. He would show them the certificate and he would say, look, see, this is the acknowledgement that we got from the Soviet Union, that our books are bringing world peace. Srila Prabhupada was very pleased by the service that Gopal Krishna Maharaj did in the Soviet Union. Gopal Krishna Maharaj was involved with book distribution. He was overseeing BBT, and one time he shared with Prabhupada that the book sales weren't doing so great. He said, we're not selling as many books as we used to, Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said, my books are distributed on the enthusiasm of my disciples. We're not selling because nobody is enthusiastic. And Gopal Krishna Maharaj shared that with everybody. And it's true, Srila Prabhupada's movement is going on the strength of Srila Prabhupada's empowerment, the purity of the tradition, and on the enthusiasm of the followers of us. That's our part to play, being enthusiastic and active in this Krishna consciousness movement. We should be actively sharing bhakti with others, with intelligence, considering time, place, and circumstances. But we should be enthusiastic and proactive and creative in our effort. And we will be blissful. As soon as we take up some service, some responsibility in Lord Chaitanya's movement, we get access to this ecstasy. Those who are responsible for some service in this movement, they are the ones who are blissful. That's how we can access bliss. If you're into bliss, that's the strategy. Take up some service. It doesn't have to be a big thing, or it can be some kind of commitment, some responsibility that goes outside of our comfort zone. Some headache, take some headache for the movement, and you'll be blissful. It sounds counterintuitive, but that's how it works. And there's one last story that I'd like to share. One time in Montreal in the early days, the devotees arranged a speaking engagement for Prabhupada at a Catholic school for girls. And there were nuns there, girls were there. Srila Prabhupada came to speak, and he brought his own entourage, some early disciples. So they gathered, Srila Prabhupada started speaking, and then in the end, he would always ask for questions. And when he opened the floor to questions, a person in the audience challenged him, and Gopal Krishna Maharaj recalls that the nuns were nice, the nuns were listening, they were favorable, the girls were nice, but the person who challenged Prabhupada was the person who came with Srila Prabhupada's crowd, interestingly enough. So he challenged Prabhupada. He said, Prabhupada, why did you come here? Why are you preaching this foreign religion here? We have our own culture here. And he was asking Prabhupada in a challenging way, a disrespectful way. And Srila Prabhupada wasn't, and the devotees were feeling awkward, or feeling, we brought Srila Prabhupada here, and the nuns are nice, and this devotee, and this person who we brought is so challenging and disrespectful. But Srila Prabhupada wasn't disturbed. He wasn't disturbed one bit. And later, when Gopal Krishna Maharaj approached Prabhupada about that incident, and he said, Srila Prabhupada, I'm sorry that this happened. And Srila Prabhupada said, no, it's okay. I must have done something to him in my previous life. I must have done something to him. And then in this life, he came back to return the favor. And then Srila Prabhupada blessed the guy before leaving for the United States. He had to stay in Canada for a while for his visa purposes. And he blessed the guy who challenged him publicly. So that shows Srila Prabhupada's compassion, Srila Prabhupada's magnitude, Srila Prabhupada's Samadarshana, this equal vision. Equal vision in bhakti does not mean that we can treat who, let me see, Jeffrey Eckler, the same way we treat squirrels in Tompkins Square Park. There should be healthy discrimination. But Samadarshan means that we see everyone as a spirit so eligible for Krishna's service. We should be willing to share service with everyone. That's Samadarshan. We should put our false ego aside. We should put our childhood blockages aside. All that stuff should be put aside, and we should see everyone equally as deserving of Krishna's mercy, as deserving of Srila Prabhupada's grace, and we should channel that. We should be a clear via medium between the person we're dealing with and Srila Prabhupada. We should bring them to Prabhupada's feet. That's our service. Okay, Samadarshana. I'm looking at my notes. Okay, and then in the verse, oh, by the way, I'd like to quiz you so that you don't fall asleep. When we look, everybody's moving all of a sudden. Is Gautam Ghosh moving? Gautam Ghosh is, yeah, he's moving too. Okay, the question is, when Srila Prabhupada said that this man must have done something to me in my past life, what is the verse in the Bhagavatam that illustrates that principle? That when something challenging happens in the life of a devotee, the devotee sees that in a particular way. So what's the verse I'm talking about? Krishnadaya, you can't answer that. It's for everyone except Krishnadaya, because he knows it. When something challenging happens in the life of a devotee, the devotee sees it in a very particular way. There's a verse that describes the devotee's attitude. I can tell the first syllable of the Sanskrit. Prashant is cheating. He's going through some book. Prashant, you can't do that. Tate, well, who knows the verse? Tate anu kam pam.
Krishnadaya.
Krishnadaya, do it.
तत्तेन कम्पा सुसमीक्ष्यमाणो भुञ्जान एवात्मकृतं विपाकम् विद्वागवपूर्वे विदधन् नमस्ते जीवेतयो मुक्तिपदे सदया भाग.
Krishnadaya, we need your purport.
That I have to open the book. Because I don't want to quote. Just a minute. You have to.
Tate kam pam susamikshama verse. That's by Shishika's favorite verse. He quotes it.
Yeah. 10:14:8. The translation is, My dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds, and offering you respectful obeisances within his heart, words, and body, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim.
Thank you, Prabhu. See, Srila Prabhupada did not take an offense. He said, I must have done something to him. It's something that I must have done, that he's challenging me like that. And Srila Prabhupada also continued with this service of uplifting that person. Not taking an offense is one thing, but there has to be a positive aspect. There has to be service that has to continue. Thank you. Thank you very much. We have Siham and Bhima. They have their hands up. Siham, go ahead.
I think Bhima has his hand up before me. So please go ahead, Bhima. I'll wait.
No, you go ahead, beauty before decrepitness.
Okay, perfect. Just a quick
You go
question.
first.
Okay, so just a quick question regarding Prabhupada's attitude when the devotee in Montreal sort of challenged him. So I understand that that was like a pure devotee attitude, but regardless of Prabhupada's attitude, is that person was sort of creating more karma to himself? Was he committing like more offenses and getting into a vicious cycle, talking like that to a pure devotee in a sort of a, in another way? I understand, because people in Montreal, they might have like a rough way to talk. Maybe it wasn't coming from a bad intention, maybe just the way, but I'll go back to the first part of my question. Was he committing any offense and bad karma?
Thank you, Siham. Interesting question. On the one hand, anyone who gets in touch with Krishna or his pure representative benefits, whether he comes from a place of a confusion or comes from a place of sincerity and humility, will benefit. Srila Prabhupada, there was, anytime there was some bad publicity for the movement, Srila Prabhupada would always, but if that article or a documentary would include Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, Srila Prabhupada would be very pleased. He said, don't worry about it. In the long run, people will benefit, even if they watch that documentary that is so to say, exposing the movement and smearing the movement. If the Maha Mantra is there, if Krishna's name is mentioned there, people will benefit. And Gopal Krishna Maharaj said that years later, a devotee came to him saying that he watched some smearing documentary on the Hare Krishna movement, but he liked the mantra. He liked the mantra. He picked up the mantra and he loved the mantra, and he became a devotee years later. So yeah, on the one hand, anyone who gets in touch with Bhakti, Krishna or Prabhupada benefits, but also you don't want to commit offenses against sadhu. So I would say it's both. He was definitely a little bit offensive, but he benefited ultimately because Srila Prabhupada has Samadarshana, equal vision. There's no false ego. Srila Prabhupada benefited the guy. He's okay. The guy is okay. Bhima Prabhu.
Can I be heard? Okay. Yes. Okay. So we also have to understand that Prabhupada's Leela is, and if you go through any of the Leela Marita, the books and stuff, we notice that almost everything, if not everything, that Prabhupada, situations that Prabhupada was faced with and his responses to them were illustrative of how a pure devotee handles things. So we, understanding that not a blade of grass moves without Krishna's consent, meaning that the Paramatma in that young man's challenge spurred him to do that. And then in order to give us a chance to see Prabhupada react in such a way, and he had been challenged before Prabhupada many times. And I've simply come in his answer in England when somebody says, why are you bringing your religion here? We have Christianity. He says, I've simply come to make you a better Christian. I've simply come to remind you that which you have forgotten. Now, that's one incident that happened decades ago, and yet that is here in my mind as a remembrance that if anybody should ever challenge, why do we need this Eastern religion? Why do we need a Vedic understanding of God? We have the Western tradition, and then we can respond in parampara as Prabhupada responded in a spontaneous moment, which is illustrative. Sometimes philosophy or even Shastra is not illustrative to our time and circumstance, but Prabhupada's, the Acharya's actions, his actual actions in the moment, given the situation, is illustrative, serves as an example, a precept that we can follow. As Prabhupada said, my books will be the law books for the next 10,000 years. And I remember hearing, and I'll end this. I remember hearing this many decades ago as a young bhakta, and being a college student and puffed up with college knowledge, I said, that's rather hubris, that's, what is that? Is that an exaggeration? Is he
Hyperbole.
simply stating this as a hyperbole? Exactly. So the thing is that when we see Prabhupada and even Krishna with Rukmini in this verse, these things gives us a chance to look at ourselves in our day-to-day drama and see how is it that Krishna may be dealing with me. Maybe Krishna's dealing with me humorously. I've come to take the chastisement of that I get on a regular basis, whether it be from other devotees or material nature itself, or sometimes, feeling like it comes from Krishna itself, himself. I have to laugh and say, this is all part of my rectification. This is all part of my purification. And then you can get through it if you can see it all as a challenge. So similarly, Prabhupada, everything that he did was an example for us to look back to and follow. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Bhima Prabhu. Just to I like the point that you made about challenges. It says in the purport to text 1, it says, in other words, the lovely chaste qualities of Rukmini will become manifest as a result of Lord Krishna's apparently insensitive words, just as camphor's fragrance becomes manifest when granules of camphor are crushed by a grinding stone. So sometimes we may be crushed, but if we're sincere and surrendered, and backed up by Shastra, Guru Krishna, and association with the devotees, there will be a chance for us to manifest some Krishna consciousness, right? If there's no challenge, then how are we gonna be Krishna conscious if nothing is challenging that? So yeah, thank you, Jeffrey Eckler.
Hare Krishna, good morning, Prabhu. I was thinking about this concept of the Setu, that is kind of the crux of this verse. It's so interesting, the structure of this verse. The unborn took birth to preserve this Setu, and that it really kind of is saying that this divine mystery is the bridge. And so I was thinking about the Bhagavatam and its oral tradition and who it's targeting a lot of times through these leelas. And there's a certain functionality to using agrarian like metaphors, you know what I mean? For the people that are hearing these stories, and the Setu in the field, it not only enables the people that work there to continue to work, but it also directs the floodwaters so that they nourish the field. And so this divine mystery has a manifold application, and it's beyond our comprehension if we don't really understand, because we don't really understand everything that it does. So when the unborn takes birth, the world is both upset and set right at the same time. The material world that we love and we immerse ourselves in is upset, but everything within that material world can simultaneously be set right when the unborn takes birth. I think that that's really a beautiful concept. And then you were speaking on the departure of Gopal Krishna Prabhu Maharaj, and you said something about these enthusiastic creative efforts in the movement and to find some service, and that same service is the access to bliss, and that's the Setu for us. And I appreciate it so much, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you for tying it up so nicely, Jeffrey Prabhu. Thank you. The great philosopher Jeffrey Eckler Prabhu is using his intelligence in Krishna's service. Okay. Would anyone else like to comment? This is an open mic. We have 8 minutes. Damodar Priya?
I think Adipurush Prabhu raised his hand first.
Hi, Krishna. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
No. Wonderful class and a very good point. The grace of the spiritual master is not a myth. Prabhupada's working in our life. Krishna's working in everyone's life at every moment, forever. And I've been remarking, looking at the devotees that we serve with, including yourself, and seeing people growing and maturing and becoming more dedicated and more deeply moved in their commitment. And it's wonderful to see that growth, that it's not just stagnant. And one Muslim friend of ours said, I'm concerned that my spiritual life might become stagnant. What he said, see, imagine there's a pond, there's a low place, and the water comes there. And if it just sits there, then it becomes murky, and you can't drink it because it's all contaminated with all kinds of things growing in it. But if the pond has an outlet, and there's water flowing in and water flowing out, then the water stays fresh. And he said, I understand that I'm receiving God's mercy, and I'm being nourished and uplifted, but I must avoid being stagnant by giving what I've received to others. Otherwise, there's a possibility of not growing. So it's kind of interesting to remember that we have to give it to get it. And Prabhupada is encouraging us like that. I'm not asking you to be Krishna conscious. I'm asking you to give Krishna conscious. Somehow or other, then if you want to thank me, the only way to thank me is to give what I've given to you to someone else. Anyway, maybe I'm talking too long. Just a simple point about growing and giving. Oh, glory to Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah, we all grow. This is our good principle. We grow. Love grows. Jeffrey is growing. Everybody is growing. They're in their service. Thank you. Adipo Prabhu. Yeah, in bhakti, our aspiration is not to get comfortable. That's stagnation. Our job in bhakti is to get situated in service, not in comfort, in service. It has to be sustainable, and it has to be figured out nicely so that we can sustain that. But comfort is not what we're seeking. Our comfort is we want to be surrounded by devotees. We want to be engaged in service. We want to be in touch with our guru. We want to be reading every day. So that's our situation. Like you said, Adipusha Prabhu, our zip code is Kirtan. Our political party is Kirtan. Same. Yeah, that's our setu. That's our setu. Chanting, hearing, discussing Krishna together. Thank you. Damodar Priya.
Hare Krishna, Ananda Vihari Prabhu. Thank you so much for the class. As always, it's very sweet and sincere. I just wanted to share, we were on the theme of love and Samadarshana, and Paul and I went to see a Swami last night, Padmanabha, I think his name is, but he was talking about love and the context of how Krishna loves us unconditionally, and to love him means that we love all who he loves, and that includes all jivas as well as ourselves. And he was talking about how nothing exists disconnected from God. So you can show how much you love God by how much you love everything connected to God. And one of the things that was really powerful that he said was that the whole idea of I only love God as much as I love the person I love the least. And just really like that practice of reciprocation. Like Krishna loves us so much. Like how can we reciprocate that by loving ourselves as much as he loves us? Because we can't love others if we don't nourish ourselves, and then loving other people and sharing with that. And because one of the things that he was saying that really like touched me was that that voice of self-rejection, like when we're like being awful to ourselves and saying like really awful things to ourselves, we're actually contradicting the voice of Krishna in our head that's saying like how much he loves us and how much he cares for us, and that's why he's always reaching out to us. So I never thought of it that way. And in the same way, when we have like awful thoughts and voices about other people, we're contradicting the voice of Krishna in our head, where he's saying, he's like, yeah, that, you know, outwardly that person may be doing something negative, but he's still a soul, and I still love that person. And it's very, very high. And he was saying that it's really, really like a high ideal. Like, you know, he was saying, loving your friends is easy, loving your enemies is harder. And until you get to the point where you don't have any enemies, then it's like, okay. And again, it's a very, like he was saying, it's very like Prahlad Maharaj kind of level ideal, but we can start with ourselves. We could start by realizing that Krishna loves us unconditionally, and he's pouring that love into us. And if we're rejecting it with like negative self-talk, then we're contradicting Krishna, which is like really offensive, because it's like, how would you do that? And then if we kind of engender that love for ourselves, then we can give it to others, because we're like, wow, we're so motivated by the fact that Krishna loves me. Am I really worthy of that? I don't know. However, Krishna loves me so much. Like, how can I not share that with others? How can I not tell others about Krishna's love and kind of go about it that way? So I found it really inspiring, and I think it's very connected to what we're talking about right now. And he actually even quoted Father Richard Rohr, which I guess is a Franciscan monk, where he said, everything belongs. Like, everything belongs in God, and everything is part of Krishna. And he even said something really crazy. He's like, you know, Krishna's in every atom of the universe, so we should be even loving every atom of the universe. And he's like, I know that's difficult, so maybe just be careful and just try to focus on like the jivas and yourself around you. But yeah, it was really, really powerful. And I think I love it when Krishna kind of connects things together. Like, we go to this class last night, and then you give this class today, and that theme is all connected. And it's that whole idea, like it's all connected. And before anybody brings it up, somebody did ask, they were like, well, with this whole idea, is it very new agey, or is it like going to turn us arrogant? Like, are we going to become impersonalists because we're saying everything's interconnected? And he said, no. He said, arrogance is only when you put yourself up in a pedestal to show yourself to others as different to how you actually see yourself. Like, people who are arrogant a lot of times have very low self-esteem, and they're portraying themselves in a really puffed up way because they actually really don't love themselves. They don't really, they're trying to get that from them. So if we really truly like loved ourselves, like how Krishna loved ourselves, yeah, the narcissistic is exactly, Neha. If we really loved ourselves, like how Krishna loved ourselves, there wouldn't be even an ounce of arrogance in ourselves, because we would just be so generous with everyone. That it's just not possible. And there's no impersonalism in it. It's really just interconnectedness and just knowing it. So if I can find this talk, I will share it, but I just wanted to share that because I felt very inspired by it. And it's very much what everybody else previously was talking about as well, I believe. So, Hare Krishna.
You conveyed, no links are necessary, Damodar Priya. You conveyed it perfectly. Thank you. Thank you very much. Our self-worth as devotees is not coming from false ego, it's coming from Krishna's love. Thank you, Damodar Priya, for highlighting that. Thank you. Okay, just to keep Adipurusha Prabhu awake, let me see if there's any questions in the temple room, any comments. Who was this Satvik looking Prabhuji with his tilak on? What's your name, Prabhu? Tell us. You have any reflections about class?
I'm just really embarrassed that you pointed me out, Hare Krishna. My name's Yogendra. I'm from Halifax, Nova Scotia. I'm just here to train with Vasudev Prabhu.
Wow. Is that Domi in the Hare Krishna? Okay. All right. Anyone wants to speak? It's 8:02. And in the chat. Negative talk is contradicting the Lord. Thank you, Jeffrey Eckler. Jamuna Jaya. Wow, Damodar Priya Devidasi. Thank you. Yeah.
Put this on the Vyasa. Wait a minute. On the.
Okay. Grant Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Radha Mulidhar ki jai, Nayana Manji ki jai. Hare Krishna. Turn on your cameras. You can.
Was that slow enough, Chantal? Yeah, ready. Okay.
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Tami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Tami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Tami Anjani Tasya Satumen Yavrit Manti Asyan Pan Kayan
Jaganti. Ananda Chimaya. That's me and my wife, Ananda Chimaya, always in the Govindam prayers. Ananda Chimaya, Anadi Purusha Prabhu. Okay, Prashant has his hand up. Prashant Prabhu.
So thank you for a wonderful class. I feel like in these classes I learn as much from you, the speaker, as I learn from other devotees' comments. My question is related to the chat that happened towards like what Bhima Prabhuji said and what Damodar Priyadasi said about you loving Krishna as much as you love the person you love least. I get that intellectually. There are multiple verses in Gita that also says, samatvam and love enemy and friend with the same regard, or at least be. I get it intellectually. I find it very hard to implement it in my corporate job. Like there, I feel like no matter how much morning Bhagavatam class I do, by the 9 a.m. meeting or the 9:30, it starts to slip away, and the ill-rooted resentments come back up. So, like, I just wanted everybody's practical tips. Like, how do we translate this intellectual knowledge into action, especially when somebody triggers us?
Wonderful question, Prashant. Welcome to the club. Welcome to the club. Okay, let's first find out who's the person Damodar Priya loves the least on this call. Let's first figure that out. Damodar Priya, who is it?
I don't know about that. But I used to work in corporate, Prashant Prabhu. Actually, I did customer service for 10 years. So I understand where you are coming from. Just because not only was I in a corporate environment, but I also, in customer service, I was dealing with the people that were angriest. And a lot of times, but obviously 99% of the time, it had nothing to do with anything I had done. I was the bearer of the bad news. So I would be the one that had to call people and tell them that their classes were canceled. And, I was the bearer of bad news. So a lot of times people were very, very mean to me and very disrespectful. And what I did was that I think it's similar. I think Adi Purush Prabhu does something similar with people that come to the guest house, where before I would make the call or before I would talk to the person, I would pray, and I would pray to Krishna to inspire me so that I would speak to the person in a way that I was serving him and serving the like Krishna in the heart of that person. And I would pray to Krishna to help me see that person past their anger and past the negativity that they were throwing out, and to see their true self. And a lot of times that would help me see that this person wasn't angry at me. They weren't out to treat me badly. Like, they were hurrying. Do you know what I mean? Like, they were suffering. There was some need that wasn't being met for them, and they were taking it out on me. So if in that moment, if I could be in that space of that prayerful mood, and obviously there's also some customer service techniques that I also knew how to do, which I'm happy to, help you with that in terms of, like, there's ways to speak to people where you can bring down their anger and their things. So there's techniques that you can use for that. But really, if I was in that prayerful mood and I could see that person in that space, then a lot of times the person themselves would let me know what was really upsetting them, and if you're the angry one, then there's a need that is not being met for you, right? Like, there's something that you're suffering from that you want to identify and see how in your environment you can have that need met. And it could be as simple as, journaling. You may want to talk to a coach or a therapist to kind of see, like, what it is that's being triggered by your environment, that there's needs that are not being met. And then so that you can address that in a way that has nothing to do with the people that are around you. Right. So, like, there were a lot of times where it was really hard when people were really angry for me not to be angry back. So I had to realize, like, why am I getting angry? And I was like, oh, because I feel like they're disrespecting me. They think that I'm less than them. They're just da-da-da. So then I would say, well, I know that that's not true. And at the time, I didn't have this lesson from the Swami that I heard yesterday. But if at the time, if I could have said to myself, oh, he said, somebody talked about Shikshastakam and the verse 3 of Shikshastakam, and he said, we don't need to seek respect from other people if we actually understood how much Krishna loves us and we were seated in that space of Krishna loving us. Then people who are clear and confident in Krishna's love, we don't need other people's respect, because we're like, we got the love and respect from the supreme being, from the most person. Right. So if I could have had that probably would have been easier. But what I did at the time was just start thinking about all the people that love me and that hold me in a positive space. And then I would kind of sit in that love, because a lot of times you're saying, it's easy to understand in theory, but not in practicality. So sometimes we can't understand Krishna loves us. So we need to, but it's helpful to think of the people that we can, like, touch in this sense, right now, like, because we're limited. So think of who are people in your life who love you and who respect you. And then in that moment, you think about them and you come from that in the space. But I'm sorry, this is getting really long. Like I said, I did customer service for 10 years. So it's a long thing. So, and I tried to combine it with Krishna consciousness because, yeah, like, I did customer service 5 years without Krishna consciousness, and I did customer service 5 years with Krishna consciousness. And let me tell you, after Krishna consciousness, it was so much easier. So much easier.
Hey, Prashant, once you get to your office, start journaling immediately. Then get fired, surrender to Krishna, and It's a joke. It's a joke. Okay, we have our soft speech Acharya Bhima Prabhu has his hand up.
You're doing it again. You're telling me how I should speak. I can't believe it. Now I can't say what I wanted to say. Anyways, yes, for ourselves, we should always see it as Krishna coming, Krishna correcting, Krishna teaching us through others. Otherwise, how would he do it? If he comes in person, we don't deserve that. He shows us through the love of others. He also shows it through the challenge of others. And I'll make this short because I have somebody waiting for me at the bottom of the driveway here. But we also have to understand that one of the signs of a devotee is that they one of the signs of a devotee is that they feel the suffering of others. And in that, we have to understand that in regards to injustices that are happening, when we see it, we should feel justified in standing up, maybe not to something that is happening to us, but if it's happening to somebody else, especially to innocents around us, if somebody's being treated badly, then we should feel courageous enough to step forward and stop the abuse, no matter on what level it is, and that we will not be committing an offense, as Maharaj Parikshit did not commit an offense by approaching Kali and almost taking his head off. So we all have to understand that we do have to stand for others. For ourselves, we can step back and learn our lesson. But for others, we have to step forward. Haribol.
See, Bhima Prabhu is surrounded by animals, but he's Krishna conscious. Yeah, that's how you do it. And Prashant, one practical tip from me. I used to work in the corporate environment, got fired. So the only way we can remain Krishna conscious when we go out there is by having a good sadhana, by increasing that ratio between bhakti and the external world. We want to make sure we have that much bhakti, so much bhakti that it overflows and it doesn't get spilled while we're out there. So make sure you have enough bhakti. Make sure the reading is good. Make sure the association is good. Then you'll be unstoppable and untouchable, no matter what other people may be doing to us. If our sadhana is strong, if we have deep loving relationship with the Vaishnavas, we are nourished and we no longer depend on what other people out there may think or do to us, because we are fortified and nourished by our association, by our service, by our sadhana. And then we increase that ratio, and then gradually you can go to the moon and remain Krishna conscious. I hope that helps. Martina has her hand up.
Haribol. Yeah, I posted in the chat our last Urban Devi. We talked about how oftentimes our basic needs are not met, and unconsciously we don't realize that, right? And how it impacts our actions and our reactions. We talked about reactivity. So I too was in customer service, by the way. And I think we all are in customer service all the time with our children, with our partners, here in this community. And I think, to try to do a mental check maybe before any interaction, or taking an exhale, having a glass of water, so on a more practical basis, because I'm not educated enough in Krishna consciousness like you all are, so I'm very humble, to just go back to the very basics in order to deal, and we all, we all have our baggage, and sometimes our reactivity, we don't know where it comes from. Something triggers us, right? And it comes out before we even have time to kind of reel it back in, or even stop it before it goes out the door, out of our mouth. So our behavior, our reaction, our physical stance. And so I just wanted to say that it takes a lot of mental energy all the time and emotional energy to keep to check ourselves, right, before we react, right, because you have dynamics going. And when you are in the throes of work, you put your coffee on the table and you open your computer and you start logging in, and then it's that wheel that goes. So maybe, slowing down, the world is still gonna go, the day is still gonna go. If you have your to-do list on your desk, well, it's a rolling to-do list, right? And if you don't get to one thing today, there are only 24 hours in the day, right? So maybe, kind of when you get to the desk, stopping to close your eyes, take a deep exhale, have a glass of water, and then start the day, or journal, or, but basic, and we go back to the basics, right? Basic need that we as human beings in this temporary body need to fulfill in order to move forward. So I just wanted to add that to the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Martine. Very, very helpful. Yeah, do not act right away. If you want to type an angry email, if there's some injustice and you want to correct it, just don't act right away. Wait. Show the draft to a friend. Our guru, His Holiness Sachinandan Swami, he has this analogy. It's called emotional traffic light. First, it's a red light. Don't do anything. There may be some injustice. There may be something happening. The world may stop without you, but don't act. Still, wait. Red light. Then comes yellow light. Then comes contemplation and preparation, and you're going to think it through, pray about it, consult with intelligent devotees. And then comes green light, then only act. That always helps. Emotional traffic light, easy to remember. Prashant is taking notes like anything. Prashant, we want those notes in the WhatsApp group. Thank you. Okay, we can take final remark. Who wants to speak? Who wants to be the finisher? Siam.
I don't know if that's going to be an intelligent end of the talk, but I am not on this WhatsApp group. Is there a way to join, or is it like sort of very private?
Let me put the link in the chat here so that you can join the WhatsApp group.
Thank you.
Right via link. Okay, link. Okay, I'm putting the link in the chat now. Everyone, paste. Okay, the link is there. All right, it was nice spending the time with you, dear devotees. We're gonna go out there and practice what we've learned. We have enough bhakti to last till tomorrow morning, we hope.
Ananda Bihari Prabhu, since you were the speaker, we have to be the ones to thank you, right? Because usually, so thank you so much, Ananda Bihari Prabhu, for giving class today and for spending so much time with all of us. And as always, thank you, Ananda Bihari Prabhu, for every single day, no matter what, making sure that we have this virtual Zoom space so that we can all come together. And you really, 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 really do a beautiful job of honoring your guru with this service. And in your own mischievous, funny way, you are a very, very good spiritual son of his. So thank you so much for all you do. We love you very, very, very much. And I think that's true from everyone. So everybody, please send him lots of hearts because he deserves it.
Thank you, Damodar Priya. Thank you for tolerating me. His Holiness Sachinanda Maharaj Ki Jai. Everybody on this call Ki Jai. We love you. We need you. Come again tomorrow. Hare Krishna. Bye-bye.